There are roughly 1.9 million exempt organizations in the country. 1.2 roughly are 501c3s, and about 90,000 are what we would call C6 business leagues, which are predominantly professional societies and trade associations. The book we did and the study we did was with Jim Collins. We used a jurying process to identify good candidates for great associations, and we went through about 1,000 of them. Some of the criteria was to be in operation a minimum of 20 years, finished more years in the black than the red, exhibited the ability to retain members, donors, and market share, and more than one CEO during the study period, so that there was some transition to really measure sustainability, and of course a willingness to participate in the research process. As I indicated, this study took about 3 years. The 10 study groups that came out on top of this were AARP, American College of Cardiology, American Dental, Associated General Contractors, Girl Scouts, National Association of Counties, the Ohio Society of CPAs, Radiological Society of North America, and the Society for Human Resource Management. So we have a couple of 501c3 large nonprofits, as well as some trade associations and professional societies. So we've pretty well covered the waterfront on this study. And we had 11 areas of comparison: vision, markets, competitors, and environment, organizational arrangements, structure, policies, and systems, use of technology, their business strategies, the products and services, the leadership, both the staff and the elected, that is the governance of the volunteer boards as well as the staff, community and culture, financial health, physical setting and location, and public policy or advocacy, government relations, whatever terminology you want to use. The research questions were: what are the obvious differences and what are the similarities? What data calls into question the prevailing conventional wisdom within the association management field? And then what is the essence of the pairing, and why is one great and another one merely good? So what are the findings? The first is an area that is called a commitment to action and a commitment to analysis and feedback. First and foremost, a customer service culture. These are organizations who knew what their mission was, knew who their customers were, and were passionately committed to serving those customers. They didn't stray from their core purpose. Second feature in this, there's an alignment of products and services with mission. A lot of nonprofits over the years can get themselves in trouble on this one, and that is they know what their core purpose, they know what their core function is, but then they stray away from that. They get into other lines of business, or they're going after, racing after revenue streams and products and services that really are not aligned with their data-driven strategies. One of the things that we had learned in this study is that the organizations who were great lived and died by the data. In other words, they did their homework, they did their research. Whatever the data told them, that was embedded in their decision making. It wasn't like somebody had a gut idea, or a new president or a chairman of the board comes into office and says, I want to do this or that, and they kind of did that and had knee-jerk reactions to all the many things that they could get into. They really studied the data, focused on it very clearly, and moved forward on that data in their decision making. There are also organizations that engaged in dialogue and really worked with their constituents. So these were organizations who had really, when we talked about the first one, customer service, they really walked the walk. And then the third here is the CEO of a broker of ideas. In these models, the CEO was a person who was really not a hierarchical figure who was dictatorial and in a control and command situation. But these CEOs were people who were engaged in making sure that all of the features of customer service, engagement, brokering of ideas, engaging people in dialogue occurred. They were very much team-oriented. They very much involved the entire organization. And in a nonprofit organization, you have a lot more moving parts than you do in a public company. Now in a public company, of course, you do have more shareholder activism, but the fact of the matter is nonprofits have always had that shareholder activism in the form of clients, members, and customers who are recipients of the services of the nonprofit organization. And so this is a huge feature, and so successful CEOs were people who were able to broker the ideas of the volunteer leadership with the staff leadership, with the customers and clients. and we're really to bring all three features of the core of their organization together in a way that worked for the organization. Organizational adaptability. So if you look at the last 20 years, the major impact on associations and nonprofits has been technology. It's been a huge, when you look at demographics, when you look at technology, and you look at the last 20 years, how organizations were able to, navigate the waters of change really was a significant feature in what made an organization great and what made an organization just okay. And of course, the seventh area that was important was alliance building. And this is becoming even more important. Alliance building is really being able to work and play well in the sandbox together. Many organizations are very proprietary. They're very parochial. They want the recognition. They're very egocentric in many cases. And while that is not necessarily bad and that you certainly want to be proud of your work, the organizations that were great were organizations that were able to partner and form alliances with organizations that could strengthen their brand, not erode their brand. For those of you who are interested in pursuing this, we do have an implementation guide and an assessment tool that we developed after the research study. If you go to our website, ASAEcenter.org, you can look for that, as well as the book. Three things that are huge game changers for the nonprofit sector. The first is, and all of these, well, 1 and 2 are, of course, enabled by technology. Mass customization. You can have fancy names for mass customization, but what technology enables, because now particularly of mobile devices, I have 2 of them sitting right up here at my spot, mass customization very simply is, I want what I want, when I want it, in the format I want to receive it, and by the way, only what I want. And so what you have is a group of clients, whether they're donors, whether they're members, whatever they happen to be, who can customize their experience with. Social networks, this is people can now, people used to need an association to form a community. They don't need that anymore. Communities get formed and dissolved on a daily basis. And you can do it through all the traditional names you've heard out there. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, some of the most popular ones. Flickr is another one. And so what we have done and what many organizations are doing is really customizing their database so that their database is set up more or less like a Facebook account, can be like a Facebook program, or so that people can form communities within your association or your organization. They can also form them outside of your organization, and I think what you need to do is just be mindful of that. And what you have to really then focus on, which is a conversation for another day, is how do you perfect your value proposition so that the reason people belong to you and associate with you rather than just form their own association outside of you is because you're providing something they can't get somewhere else. And then finally, demographics. This is I think there are several features here that many people just really haven't thought about going forward. First of all, there's going to be more people working in the workforce. There's going to be multi-generations in the workforce with different values and different work standards and work ethics. The second thing is that, as you may know, while 1957, the U.S. had its highest birth rate, in 1977, the U.S. had its lowest birth rate, almost cut in half. And what that means is that very few, the pool of talent is cut in half. But for organizations and companies, there's going to be a huge talent gap. And there's going to be both in for-profits and not-for-profits. I bring this up because not-for-profits are going to have to compete much more aggressively for talent because it's simply not going to be there in the numbers. The third piece is around diversity. If you look at the numbers, the white population is basically flatlined, the black population is basically flatlined, where the real growth is in the Hispanic population. And organizations, in particular nonprofits, if you look at the demographics of who are members, who are donors, who are the people who are volunteering, it is not that demographic. It's a very different demographic. And that's a huge issue going forward for how nonprofits engage multicultural communities in ways that they haven't even thought about yet. And if they don't, they will become completely irrelevant going forward.